Cannabis has effects on the molecular level, on the cellular level, on the level of the organ, on the relationships between activities. Okay, let's say the whole HPA axis regulating and all kinds of phenomena associated with stress, and on the organism itself. Okay, so there are so many levels. It's so complex. Now let's take something simpler. Let's take an old car with it's stuck in the snow and you attach a hook. Now, if you attach it the wrong place, you will simply pull off the front fender, right? But if you attach it where there's a metal loop and you take it, you will be able to drag it out of the snow. So that is a strategic point of intervention. And it appears that cannabis, the administration of cannabis can elicit a very distinct signal. So you give people a small amount of this substance and you have a remarkable effect on the whole organism. You transform its state of well-being. That is something that is phenomenal and which is very difficult to break down into all these specific molecular elements, of course.
This is a spectrum of cannabis efficacy. It's huge. It's unprecedented with any other medicine that it could be effective in so many different illnesses, from ADHD to Tourette's syndrome. There's a reason for this, and I'll get into that a bit later, but this is really as good as you can get in terms of valuable medicine.
When we take high doses of cannabis and you give them to a cancer patient, if those cancer cells are sugar burners, which they're likely to be because of the things I've already described to you, and we already know that, okay? You give them high high THC, turn on the CB2 receptor, and that turns on fat burning. And if the cells can't make that metabolic shift because they're already stressed just to survive their imbalances in the sugar burning mode, if they can't make that, they die. And that's why cannabis cures so many cancers. And it doesn't matter what cancer, because all of the things that I'm telling you are true of all of the cancers. Because all of the things that I'm saying from my understanding. And I can't engage scientists because they won't even listen to this.
This slide just shows you how many areas of the brain has cannabis receptors, and that's why there are so many neurological diseases that we think it might help. An example in just one field, neurology, how many conditions, I accept that autism is psychiatry, never mind, how many conditions in just a specific medical field are currently being treated in many countries with cannabis.
Cannabis is like a buffalo. The native people used to use every part of the buffalo. You can use every part of the cannabis plant. It's extremely useful. Why do we have it illegal? It doesn't make sense at all.
Human breast milk is loaded with the EPA and DHA converts to endoethanolamine derivative cannabinoids that Lumir showed you some pictures of. So it's in breast milk. Think about that, you know? Why? Because it protects the brain. The kid's head got scorched, 20 hours of labor that first time especially, you know? Lack of oxygen. All of those things, you need to protect it. So you give it the breast milk, first thing that comes out. Get the kid stoned, relax the kid, fix the kid's brain up a little. It works perfectly. We need cannabinoids. It's the simplest, easiest thing. This woman died a couple of years later. I'm 120, but my joints are okay, all right?
And so if you're going to utilize cannabis for cannabinoids, you want to eat the pulp. Not to say the juice is not valuable because it contains many minerals and vitamins and polyphenols, flavonoids, which are really good for you, anti-cancer and mood altering.
Anybody who knows something about neurophysiology or in any field of neurological medicine will open his eyes and say, well, how come aren't we made aware of it? It is known that the cannabinoids, or several of them, do have an impact on the monoamine oxidase activity. So they inhibit the MAO activity. And that is something that is significant among a large proportion of our patients who are receiving antidepressants.
Currently in Israel, I think only PTSD we use cannabis for, but from the psychiatrists that I meet, they say that for PTSD, it's a real help. Real help.
My son is so ADHD. I mean, my ex really wanted to save him because she knows how insane I am, and I only survived by good luck. I'm just very lucky to understand and know what I do. Anyway, poor Luke was struggling, and we put him on some Ritalin. And within 3 days, he couldn't breathe. We got him off the Ritalin. And then we put him on Adderall, and that was great for about 2 weeks until he had personality changes, and he really became an obnoxious asshole. And just at that time, I read an article about how CBD is more effective than these drugs. And I said, look, and I happen to have thousands of these CBD pills because I eat these, in addition to all the THC, I eat a lot of these specially prepared CBD extracts that have blown my mind in terms of healing potential. So the combination is amazing. Anyway, Luke gets on these. He's fine. He's doing good in school. He's happy. It works. What I've described to you is applicable in so many places, and I've always seen it work. And it's consistent with so much science. On my computer there, I've got 25,000 articles. 13,000 are from cannabis, and the other 13,000 support the stuff that I've told you. I don't make it up. I want somebody to enter in a dialogue with me, show me where I'm wrong, but at least have a conversation.
When I have patients, even if I'm receiving them between one and another and I don't have any time at all, there are certain things that I insist on presenting and informing them. One is that cannabis indeed is safe. It is safe. And people can go around and say there are all kinds of situations where there are side effects. When we are talking about safety, as physicians, actually we have to say, just a moment, we're not talking in absolute terms. We know that there are side effects. We know that it drops blood pressure, and that it drops glucose levels, and that it can induce panic attacks in a minority of the cases. This is something that we all know and acknowledge, and we inform the patients. However, if we go beyond that, then essentially we know that even administering doses 10 or even 100 more than the recommended dose will not result in irreversible damage. And indeed there are reports of people who have been exposed to such high doses, and they were even assumed to be in a coma, but within 24 hours they walked out of the hospital as they, in the same physical situation they were in prior to receiving that dose of cannabis. That is not to say that there are no side effects, okay? But it is safe, and as Professor Kremer pointed out, all these side effects have been noted to be reversible. And that is a universal observation on a reasonable level.
The good thing is that all were reversible within 24 hours. And CBD you can stop from one day to another. Usually I go for about 1 or 2 weeks to wash out, but you can, if you want, if you need, you can stop from one day to another. And even the single person that has psychosis, it disappeared after 30 hours.
The purpose of this conference, unbeknownst to us, is that we're simple tools in this flowing biochemistry. We are organizational entities that are spreading a piece of knowledge that, because it is true, will naturally permeate. That's why we're seeing around the world the global awakening, the cannabis awakening. It's happening not because somebody's advertising it, not because somebody's making money, even people are making money, because it's real, it's true, and we want to share with our friends, our family, and our community.